Hey guys, what's going on? Before we get into this review, I want to be a little bit vulnerable and honest with you guys about the fact that I honestly wasn't even going to review this week, and I actually tried last night to film this video 7 times and it just wasn't working out. I made a post recently in a YouTube group that features all of my fellow YouTube peers and collaborators where I just pretty much told them I was going to be vanishing for a little bit and that I probably wouldn't be uploading a video for a few weeks. That decision came from just honestly depression. I've been really down lately, just in my life, just kind of feeling a little bit lost, feeling like a bit of a loser. And YouTube for me, even though it's like a great outlet and I love it so much, was part of the discouragement. But the worst part is that just a few days after posting that, I was already just dying to get back to it because I love doing this. I love talking movies and being able to talk to whoever stops by my channel and checks out one of these videos. Whether it's one of those videos that gets hundreds of views, thousands of views, or one of the videos that can't even break 50 views. I just love doing this. And ultimately, I think I was just allowing myself to get too discouraged by the process of growing here on YouTube. So I am planning on making a video about this and getting a little bit more in detail about this, but this is more to just tell you guys that I'm going to continue on, that I'm sorry I didn't get this review up sooner. I know there's a lot of other great reviews for this movie up already, but here I am with my review. But I just wanted to say, if you guys are ever battling something, in your mind, just don't give up, and it's something I'm continually trying to remind myself when I consistently don't believe in myself and consistently want to give up. And I know that those feelings are going to come back. I know there are going to be days in between videos that you guys don't know about where I completely lose faith in myself. But I'm adding this here to just be open, honest, and vulnerable with you guys and just recognize that at the end of the day, this is something that we all deal with and that giving up just doesn't help anybody. So I decided to say, fuck all that, and let's get into this review. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the new Disney Pixar film Turning Red. So Turning Red is a brand new Disney Pixar film that is the first feature-length directorial debut and writing debut for the director Domee. She also wrote and directed a film called Bao, a short film that accompanied Coco just a few years prior, and both this movie and that short film very much hone in on the relationship between a parent and his child, more specifically the mother and the child. And I remember being so teary-eyed before even getting into Coco just because of that opener, just because of that short film. And I believe there was no dialogue in that short film, as most of the Pixar films, the short films at least, do. So yeah, I really want to commend Domee for that Pixar short because I think that they were able to really tell a lot of emotion and tell a great story without any dialogue at all. Moving into this film though, when I saw the trailers for it, I was all about it. It seemed like something that was going to be a lot of fun, and my fiance loves red pandas, so I was hyped to see the movie with her. We both thought the movie looked really cute, and I was incredibly bummed to find out that it was going to be going straight to Disney+. My original intention was to wake up at 3 a.m. when it dropped on Disney+, watch it and review it then, but we're a little bit later than it usually would be. But yeah, I was really hoping to see this one in theaters. Pixar films have lately been getting thrown straight to Disney+, and I'm glad that that's a great way for new people to check it out, people who maybe would have not gone to see them in the theaters, and families can just watch it on Disney+. But it is a shame because films like Soul and Luca from the last year and some change were visually beautiful, and I really, really thoroughly enjoyed those movies, and I would have loved to have seen them on the big screen. This movie, Turning Red, is no different in the fact that you have fantastic animation. It's not my favorite animation of the Pixar films, but once again, you can see literally the peach fuzz on these characters' arms, and there's a sense of realism sometimes within a cartoony world. There's a scene where the main character's father is cooking, and the liquids and the smoke and the food just look so realistic, but then it's within this cartoony world. So I think that Pixar and Disney animation overall has gotten to a really impressive place where, again, you can see these hyper details on these very cartoony characters that just brings a new life to these stories. So Turning Red focuses on a young girl named Mei Lin and her group of 3 friends. It's a group of young girls, and this movie definitely leans into young adolescent life when it comes to young girls, being into boys, having a diary, drawing little cute fan fiction in a way of these cute boys and themselves, and pretty much just being, fangirl little young girls who love the boy band of the time or whatever the case may be. Definitely leans into that kind of thing, and it's a very cute movie. When the movie ended, the first thing that my fiance fiance and I said to each other when we looked over to each other was, yeah, that was cute. And ultimately, I would say that that's my biggest thing that I could say about this movie. This was a cute watch. It has a really good message, and I think there's some things that are bothering people about this movie a little bit too much. But overall, I really thoroughly enjoyed this film. I found it to be a good time with a good message for both adults and children. Now, I want to get this out of the way really quickly because one of the things I kept hearing about this movie was that this was a movie about a girl getting her period. And in a way, this movie is about a girl hitting puberty and kind of, a coming of age story, something that we've seen done with male characters in an abundance of occasions. And what ends up happening in this movie is that when our character comes of age, Mei, she ends up becoming this huge red panda, and she ends up finding out that through the lineage of her family, the women in her family have all had this red panda that would appear at different points in their life. And the women in her family actually decided to get rid of that part of themselves, so they would do a ritual that would encase the spirit of this red panda into some sort of medallion, some sort of trinket, so that they can keep that spirit under control and never turn in to this red panda. So now Mei has a little bit under a month until she's able to do the red panda ritual to get rid of the red panda that is going to be on the day of the red moon. Beyond that, her and her best friends are all trying to go to this boy band thing, and yeah, that's pretty much the premise of this film. She becomes a red panda, she's trying to get rid of the red panda, she ends up falling in love with becoming a red panda and this part of herself and what it brings out in her, and at the same time, her and her girlfriends are trying to go to this big boy band concert at the end of the movie. Now, one thing that people keep talking about, going back to what I said that I wanted to get over this really quickly, is that this movie, for a lot of people, they're saying that it's about a young girl getting her period, and a lot of people were bashing Disney for having something like this in an animated film. And first off, though that is a part of this movie to an extent, the mother originally believes that she might be having her period, and the conversation of that comes up in pads and all that kind of stuff. Though that does come up in the film, it's such a small part of the film once it becomes about the panda. More than anything, it really becomes more about this fantastical story, and sure, there are metaphors in the story, but for me, this movie really didn't lean into that all that much. If anything, it kind of used it a little bit as a joke. And beyond that, I don't really get the big deal because it is a natural part of every woman's life, and I think it's okay to have things like this in movies these days. I think sometimes people forget the kind of things that were put into children's entertainment when I was growing up as a kid or when my parents were growing up as a kid. There was plenty of questionable things. And though there may be more questionable things today, I think it's more about parents being able to have a conversation with their children than really worrying about Disney implementing something that is completely natural in a film. But yeah, beyond all that, honestly, this movie is really about a young girl with this ability to turn into a red panda. She wants to get rid of it. She's falling in love with it. And at the end of the day, this movie is really about a parent having to realize that they can't always control their child. That, the things that make their child who their child is going to make them different. And they're not always going to kind of see things eye to eye. In this case, you have this character who starts to fall in love with being this red panda. She starts to fall in love with this part of herself. She's changing over time because of this. And ultimately, sometimes that doesn't line up with what her parents want for her, specifically her mom in this movie. But ultimately, I found that to be a really solid message. You have to let your kids grow and be different people. If not, you just create somebody who's going to be rebellious, who's going to be vengeful, who's going to be angry, somebody who's almost going to do something in spite of you. You know what I mean? And ultimately, I think that this movie tackled that really well. On the parental side, I think it really does a great job of recognizing how there are family traditions, there are family pressures, there are societal pressures that are put so heavily onto so many kids that ultimately it makes people feel like they can't be themselves as they're growing up, and it creates this clash between the child and the parent. And I think that this movie handled that really, really well, because the mother in this film is such a pain in the ass for majority of the runtime, but I really, really enjoyed the message for both kids and adults by the end of the movie, and kind of finding a balance of who your children are becoming and who you are going to become as a parent. That's something I could definitely relate with, where definitely both of my parents were stricter in certain areas and certain conversations, certain topics, whatever the case may be when I was younger. But as my sister and I got older, we got bigger, we started to rebel in certain areas, we started not caring what our parents had to say because we were becoming who we are. There was a respect that had to be found between my sister and I and my father and my mother. And ultimately now today, even though we still butt heads and we all have differing opinions and different approaches to things, ultimately I think it's made for a much better relationship with my parents, where I am who I am and they are who they are, and we're okay with that. Now, I didn't mean to go on this long for this video. I'm gonna wrap it up in just a moment, but I definitely want to praise some of the cast members of this film, specifically the main two who we really hone in on in this movie. You have Rosalie Chiang as Mei Mei, and I thought she was great in the movie. And one thing I definitely want to praise about this movie as well, specifically around her character, but just overall in this film, is that it's very anime-esque. There's so much about this movie that is definitely inspired by a lot of anime and the way that they actually go about these scenes, the internal monologue that zooms in on a character as they have some sort of hyper expression. There's so much about the visuals of this film that felt very, very anime mixed with what Pixar usually does. And I think that Mei Mei, the character, was really, really strong and really leaned into being, you know, a more American version of an anime in a way. And so I definitely want to praise Rosalie Chiang for the hard work that she definitely put into this character, because you can definitely tell she had a lot of fun playing the role. And then you have the character of Ming, the mother, played by Sandra Oh. Throughout the course of the runtime, I was completely driven crazy by her character. She was so annoying to me, and I thought she did a great job of playing this very overly controlling mother. That was what the script demanded for her. It made me hate her and think she's one of the worst Pixar mothers of all time. But yeah, I ultimately really enjoyed how the story kind of wrapped up by the end of it. And I mentioned earlier that Mei Mei has a group of girls that she hangs out with, and the character of Abby, played by Hyen Park, I believe that's how you pronounce her name, I thought was hilarious, and I just wanted to kind of, you know, take a moment to speak on her because she had me laughing throughout the course of the film. And again, a character that very much leans into the mannerisms of a lot of anime characters, and I really thoroughly enjoyed that element of the movie. So yeah, guys, that's going to be my thoughts on Turning Red. I'm sorry for starting the video off with such a depressing element, but I just wanted to be honest and vulnerable with my audience and with you guys, and I definitely want to do a video on that at some point. But this video ultimately is about Turning Red, and I think this movie does a good job of having a good message for kids that are dealing with parents who maybe are oppressing them a little bit, and for parents who maybe feel like they're putting too much pressure on their children. There's a good balance on both sides, on the kid side and the adult side, that can be learned here. I think there's something that really tells a really realistic and human story here, and I really thoroughly enjoy that element of it. Definitely want to praise Domee, the director and writer of this film. I think she had a really great message here. I do want to say though, it's not one of my favorite Pixar films, but it's by no means like a bad movie or by the bottom of the barrel of Pixar films. I just found it to be a good, cute time with a good message for people of all ages, and I hope you guys enjoy this movie as well. So a big thanks to you guys for watching. Please leave your comments down below. Did you like this movie? Did you not like this movie? Definitely can't wait to hear what people have to say about this one, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.